Hey, welcome to Doc Rides. If you're new to the channel, this is a basically just a ride-along channel. I've got a 2022 Goldwing Tour that I've been riding this year, and yeah, I just kind of talk about bikes and talk about stories and what's going on in my life and that kind of thing. And I was gonna go for a longer ride tonight, but I had kind of an incident. I was on call this past weekend, and it was really busy. I was up all night. I should tell you I'm a doctor at the local hospital here in New Brunswick. I was up all night Friday night, and then Saturday I was up till about 2 in the morning and slept till 7 in the morning. But then Sunday night I was up till 2 in the morning and then got called again at 4 in the morning. 4:30, I guess. So I was pretty sleep deprived, and I had a big list of things to do today, but I didn't have any patient work. Like, it was all technical stuff. And what happened, I got through about half of it by lunchtime, and I realized I didn't have any food in the house. My wife Chrissy and my son Jack have been out. Jack was at Acadia basketball camp in Wolfville, and Chrissy went down with him, and I had a busy week, so it was like no big deal. I don't mind being on my own, especially when I'm on call a lot, because I hate, when your phone rings all night. Even if you try not to wake them up, they're going to wake up when you're moving around and all that stuff. We're just going to stick to the highway here. We'll come back the nice way. Oh, I am in 6th gear. maybe I'm a little tired to be doing this. I'm watching for deer too. This time of night, oh man, this is when they love to run in front of you. So, yeah, I had this crazy weekend, then I was really busy this morning. I had a lot of work to do, and I ran out to grab some lunch. I ran to the grocery store and I bought some of these little, I don't know, steak has gotten really expensive, but they have these little, God help me, I hope it's not heart meat, but it looks like little pieces of heart meat, like little medallions about that big. And they're so friggin' tender, and they're still, it was 13 bucks for a pack of like 9 of them. They're delicious. They're almost like tenderloin tips, if you've ever had those. So I got those, and I got some stuff to make a salad. I never made it to the salad phase. I came home, I cooked them in a frying pan, ate them, and I sat back down to do my afternoon work, and promptly fell sound asleep, and I woke up at 4 o'clock. So I had to work. I had about, I don't know, 3 hours of work at 4 o'clock that I should have been done at 4 o'clock. Anyway, and I was stiff as a board and pretty tired, but I went outside to let the dog out, and lo and behold, it was beautiful out. So I said, oh, what the hell, I'm gonna go for a quick ride. So here we are. I figured might as well do a little video. I'll tell you about a funny, oh yeah, so the whole point of this channel, because I'm not really a motorcycle expert, I love motorcycles. I've ridden all kinds of them, and I've owned quite a few. And I love the Goldwing. Like, it's been a great companion this summer. Let's see, I think I've put about 1,500 kilometers on it so far. But the channel's more about just kind of chilling out, having a chill ride, telling some stories, just sort of, I don't know, living life. It's kind of like one of those channels that you can fall asleep to. My son sent me a couple new songs that he made, so if you hear some music in the background, that's probably his stuff. I do use some copyright-free music too, and I try to find like some really chill lo-fi beats. So like, if you're watching this and going to sleep, man, don't feel bad. I'm not that interesting a guy. But I just always find like it's nice to have, I don't know, like when I'm home alone, I like having videos of ride-alongs on when I'm sleeping. I've been watching a lot of, well, the old On Two Wheels episodes and Common Tread. Zach and Ari are hilarious. They're really good. It's like a Motorcycle Top Gear. They actually had a season of a show. I don't know if it was called On Two Wheels. I can't remember what it was called, but it was on Motor Trend. And I actually subscribed to Motor Trend just based on those two guys because I loved their motorcycle content so much. And I mean, they're insightful, and they're obviously like experts, not just at like racing motorcycles, but they're, you know, they fabricate their own machines and all that stuff, which is stuff that I can't. I mean, I'm not even close to that. I did fix my mom's oven the other day, which was kind of cool. The other big accomplishment I've had this week, I bought one of those deck planters that can hold water in the bottom. It's got like soil on, you put your soil on top and plant your stuff, and then the water goes in this little channel on the bottom, and that way if you're not home to water your plants and it's hot, they won't die automatically. But I had been doing a science experiment with my son for his science fair last year. He did a project called Astronaut Garden, and it was about like what color of light is best for growing what type of plant, because we're trying to grow like, I don't know, calorically rich plants, as well as just plants that can, obviously all plants can change CO2 to oxygen via photosynthesis. And thinking like that would be a useful thing to know if you were, you know, traveling through space and you needed to grow plants the most efficient way possible. And we grew pumpkins, beans, peas, sweet pea, grass, and something else, can't remember. But at the end of his experiment, as it turns out, purple light's really good for pumpkins, and red light is good for beans, and white light was kind of in between for everything. And orange light was really good for some stuff anyway, just if you're interested. But we took the, when the project was over, the plants had gotten kind of big, and I was worried they wouldn't survive because what I did, I used Tupperware boxes, and I cut little holes in the top and attached string, like a light string by zip ties. And sorry, I'm good. I got sniffly there. Anyway, so when it was done, I transplanted them to this deck planter, and the pumpkins absolutely took off. Actually, the sweet peas have done quite well too. But everybody told me you can't grow an actual pumpkin because there's not enough soil, they need more space, etc., etc. Well, today, lo and behold, I was out watering and trimming my pumpkin plants with their jacks, but I call them mine. And I got behind the planter, and there's a giant pumpkin behind the planter just sitting on my deck, attached to one of the vines. I was so tickled. I'm very proud of myself for that. So there you go, a little accomplishment performed. I also fixed Mom's stove. Her stove door fell apart, and in fairness, it only required a Phillips head screwdriver, but I was quite proud of myself too, because I'm not very handy. Anyway, yeah, so I wanted to tell you a couple stories. I'm in this band, a rock band, and we do a lot of original music, and there are 5 of us in the band. And we've been playing at our friend's barn. She has a like a big property with a horse farm, and there's a barn upstairs that we practice in when it's not too cold. And she's married to a captain of industry kind of guy, and so I'm always kind of tiptoeing around the fact that we're making a big ruckus at his house. But she was our friend for a long time before she knew this guy, but I'm always a little bit intimidated by this dude. Although he's, you know, he's very nice, young guy, very nice. I don't know, my dad worked for their company. It's like this whole thing that you always kind of, I don't know, you always treat them with respect, I guess. Anyway, so my friend Greg is, he runs well, he's a founder of this big company, and his friend Steve is the CEO of the company, and he's also in the band. And Greg always he was kind of like a hippie, and a really fun dude, and he always has some crazy project on the go. And so he's friends with a guy in Montreal who's like a neuroscience PhD or postdoc student. And he got us involved in this trial where they wanted to study our EEG waves, like study your brain during a music set, while at the same time making a documentary film about this project. And it was it sounded pretty cool. Like I don't know what'll come of it, like how good data can you get from a band playing music, but you know, like when I think of EEG, I think of the leads on your head, the skull cap, like the swimmer's cap with all the leads, and basically you're not supposed to move and they try to induce a seizure. That's that's the only one I've ever done when I was a med student or whatever. But this was like, they had these special black hats with leads that you had to like soak in saline solution, and once they zeroed them, I mean, it's been 30 years since I was a med student, or 20 years or something, but so obviously the technology has come along, but once it's all like in place, you can move around with it once it's zeroed. So that was the idea, and they were going to see like if your brain enters a transcendental state, flow state, I guess, when you're playing music in a band. So I knew about the experiment. Greg had told us about it, but I didn't realize like they had to do a rehearsal beforehand to test the equipment, and I realized they had planned all this, and they had the film crew involved in this rehearsal. They'd planned all this, but I was unawares, and so like the day before the rehearsal, Greg said, "Oh, so everyone's good for tomorrow night? Like we'll start at 5." And I was like, "Fuck, man, I'm on call." Like I was on, it was like a Wednesday. I was on call, or it was a Monday maybe even, but I couldn't get out of it. And I thought, oh well, like, you know, I'll pop by and he can like just make sure the thing fits on my head or whatever. You guys go ahead. He's like, no, like you got to be there. So we'll just change the date. So everybody changed their schedule around me because I was too forgetful to you know, remember that we had this thing, obviously. And I show up the next day, and there are like 50 people involved in this thing. There are 2 film crews, 2 professional sound crews, the neuroscience guy and his whole lab worth of equipment. He'd come from Montreal. It's just like, holy fuck, what did I do? So it was like I don't know, 5 or 6 hours of pretty intensive, I don't know where I'm going, to be honest. I might yeah, do you think I have time to go to Sussex? Maybe. Pretty intensive like recording and filming. And one thing, like in the barn is big, but like where our band is set up, where all the power supplies are, is quite a tight area. The film crew kept stepping on my pedal and turning off my guitar effects or turning off the sound. Like at one point they turned on the tuner while we were in the middle of a song, and this is like being recorded for a movie. It's like, oh fuck, man. And of course, like, I'm singing out of tune. I'm tired as hell. I've been up the whole night before. It was just a shit show. Anyway, the rehearsal didn't go great, and like between every song we had to do a survey of how we felt like it went. Got better towards the end, in my opinion, but I was super uncomfortable being on camera. Like I'm not a good looking man. I've got like a double chin, I've got an old face with like craggy wrinkles, and I'm like, I got tits. You know, man boobs. So I don't know, I just felt like such a piece of shit at that rehearsal. Anyway, our concert was actually in the Dome at Yip Cider, which I should have driven to tonight. If I wasn't a moron, I would have gone over there. Where the hell am I? I'm like halfway to Sussex. I'm just kind of lost on the drive. Anyway, so we went to the show at the Dome. It was friggin' hot. It was, it must have been 40 plus degrees Celsius on the stage. So like we're talking like 100 plus degrees Fahrenheit on the stage, and humid and everything else. And like there was a lot of setup. Like we had to get these skull caps put on. They had to film them going on. You had to do a pre-interview. You had to do a post-interview. James, the guy who did the thing, like actually came out on stage and explained what was going on. And yeah, it was cool. I mean, it was a good experience. There was another band called Constant Greetings that opened for us. They were really good. Our band, I thought, played really well. Like, it wasn't perfect, but it was pretty damn good. My friend Ray and I both do vocals. Ray is a much better vocalist. We both write a lot of the songs, and then the whole band basically rewrites the song once you bring the bare bones of the song to the band. So it's like this nice, like, team thing. And I don't know, there's almost like we've played together for over 10 years now. There's almost this cool like telepathy that happens when you're not sure, like you can just read what the other person is doing. And if it, like there was one point where Ray started losing his voice towards the end of the show, and I started singing the high parts, and he just like automatically started singing the low parts. It was really cool. I really enjoyed the show. But yeah, and we had, I mean, it was a successful show. I have no idea what the experiment's going to show. I will say though, at one point, like they were showing our EEGs live on the screen behind us while we were playing. Like there's a big, I don't know, TV monitor basically. And I turned around just to look at it for a second, and I realized that like my brainwaves were so much smaller than everybody else's brainwaves. It was like, fuck, I'm stupid. I don't know if it's because I take Zoloft. I don't know. Or if I'm just, maybe I got dementia. I said it was like a moronogram on the, looking at my own brainwaves compared to everyone else's. Anyway, it was kind of a neat experiment, but it was just one of those weird things. I felt so bad about that rehearsal. I had no idea whatsoever that all these people were counting on me to show up. And then, I mean, the thousands and thousands of dollars Craig and Steve must have spent on this rehearsal that I didn't show up to. I feel like such a fucking idiot. Pardon my language, by the way. I swear a bit. I am a Christian. I say the F word a lot. I need to do better. I'm sorry. Yeah, maybe go into Norton. Yes, I suppose. It's getting kind of dark. I always tap the brakes a little bit when I pull over. One of these days we're going to go on an actual trip, and it's going to be glorious. I think if I had gotten my butt up in time, if I hadn't fallen asleep on my desk for 3.5 hours or 3 hours, we would be going to St. Martin's on this trip, because St. Martin's is really pretty. My friend Jen bought a piece of land there that has one of New Brunswick's famous waterfalls on it, and they built this like beautiful, like, I don't know, it's all like solar powered home. And she invited me to go over and have a look at it. That would make actually kind of cool video content, because it's really pretty. I've seen pictures. There we go. This bike's been treating me pretty well. I'm gonna go the old way home. We'll just watch for deer. It's got its quirks for sure. I mentioned that the backrest on the seat is pretty darn close to the front, so I'm sitting like upright quite a lot. I'd like to have my ass like 1 inch further back, and I don't know. I'm not sure it would actually fix anything. I'm not uncomfortable, and I don't get off this bike and feel sore, but I've only ever ridden it for about an hour at the most, so it's hard to judge at this point. Maybe an hour and a half. What I need to do is take it on a longer trip. Before I do anything, invest in any aftermarket stuff, I gotta go on a trip and see what it really needs, because maybe the seat is, maybe the backrest would actually help in the long run. I don't know. I feel like it does kind of look a little goofy. Yeah, I think I do want to go down here. Jeez. Haven't been here in 5 years, and I've been here twice in a week. It is pretty though. A couple things drive me a little bit crazy on this bike. The damn horn is this little button here. Yeah, it's too small. If you mash this thing, it should honk the horn. Usually when I need a horn, it's like I'm in mash mode. My golly, I'm actually very, very warm. I don't know what temperature it is outside, but it's hot. It's muggy. I think we're supposed to get that Hurricane Debbie is coming, but I don't know when. And I also don't know where I'm going. I think I'm going that way. Let's go that way. I don't think I went by the Kubota dealership last time. Well, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Anyway, this is a pretty part of the province. I'm going to put the windshield down. You get a little bit of wind noise, I realize, but it doesn't seem like it's that bad. Man, oh man. So I kind of have like two friend groups. So I've got my band, and I have I had a Bible study group that I was quite good friends with, and I'd kind of fallen away a little bit from the Bible study stuff when my dad died. It's not that I lost my faith, but I just kind of, I don't know. If you're an atheist, you know, I'm sorry. don't give it a thumbs down. This is a story about my friends, not about the Bible. But anyway, during the pandemic, I got kind of into cigars and whiskey, of all things, which is really not. Neither one of those are good habits. And I've gotten off the whiskey, and I had gotten off the cigars, though I've had a couple of them in the week that Chrissy and Jack were away. But otherwise, I hadn't had one in like 6 months, I would say. But this guys group from my church kind of started getting together and getting into the Word and doing also whiskey tastings and cigar, like running a garage like a cigar bar. And I was kind of, it was pretty fun. I really liked the guys, like very nice fellas, and we became quite close. I would say I started going in Easter of like 2022. This friggin' chip seal that isn't sealed down. Those little rocks get into this bike, and they get everywhere. I was picking them out after our last ride. Anyway, so yeah, the fellas and I had been getting together on mostly a weekly basis. Like, I wouldn't go if I was on call, obviously, and people would be away, and we'd miss weeks and stuff, but we grew quite close, and I confided in them quite a bit. I don't really have any like major drama going on in my life, but I am like, again, not a political ride along. It's supposed to be chill and relaxing, but in medicine, like, we've just gotten hammered a few times by the federal government. Like, it's in Canada, it's Justin Trudeau at the moment. Hopefully when you're watching this in the future, it'll be someone else. Not that they'll be a good person, but anyway, we just got our business, like our whole business model got wrecked in 2017, right around the time my dad was diagnosed. I had a really hard time with that, and just because it cost us a ton of money and basically a lot of our savings. And then this year he changed the capital gains taxes. So the way like fee-for-service medicine works is you work as a business, like you're a consultant essentially, and your fees go, well, you go into your business and you pay your overhead out of your business so that you can basically run it like a business. And then in that business, you're usually saving for your pension, basically. Like, you're kind of responsible for your own investments. And so I had my pension savings in the business, and I have no personal savings. Like, you pay your salary, you pay your like the people who work for you, you pay their salary out of it, and then at the end of the day, there was like that was it. I only really saved in the business and a little bit in an RRSP every year. So RRSP for us is like 401k for Americans, except there's no well, maybe some places do an employer contribution, but obviously I wouldn't know about that because I am the employer. So maybe I don't think so, though. I think it's just like personal responsibility to contribute. So all that being said, my pension was in my company, and the capital gains inclusion rate has almost always been the same between the US and Canada. Back in Brian Mulrooney's day, it briefly went up to 75% capital gains inclusion, and then it went back down to 50%. And capital gains, if you're not into finance, it's just the difference between what you pay for something and what you sell it for. So if you buy a stock for $50 and you sell it for $100 at a 50% capital gains rate, you would pay tax on your maximum tax rate on the $25 because only 50% of the gain is included. And that kind of accounts for inflation. Like, the Canadian market returns, if you invest, are not great. Like, I would say they're in line with inflation. So basically, when he did this, like, my returns on average pre-tax are around like 4.5%. Now, I'm not a lunatic. Like, I don't put it all in Bitcoin or anything. I'm a very conservative guy, but like, I don't have very good returns as it is. I changed companies. I'm trying to get a little bit better returns now, but he changed the capital gains inclusion rate to 66%. So if you're just an individual, you get a $250,000 window every year, where it's at the old rate at 50%. But if you're incorporated, every fucking penny, sorry, pardon my language, every penny that you make gets taxed at 67%, 66.66%. And it just doesn't sit right. Like, to me, it's exploitative, and it makes it unfair between owning a business and not owning a business. Okay, so this horse farm here, I think it's called Butternut Stables. I can't remember if it's, no, Kennedy Stables. So when I was a little kid, my mom took me there for horseback riding lessons, and but it was like English saddle horseback riding, and my friend ended up doing Western saddle horseback riding, and anyway, it changed to a different, I think it was called Butternut was the other one that I went to. Anyway, pretty spot though. This is Bloomfield, New Brunswick that you're looking at. So yeah, so we basically lost, like, in the end, what I was planning on paying in taxes on the stuff, because you've already paid corporate taxes on it, so what I was planning on paying on the stuff that I withdrew from my corporate account in retirement was around 35% on average, because it was I've already paid like whatever the business tax rate is on it, 18% or whatever. But now it's going to be like 45. It's an extra 10% essentially. So 10% of my life savings just got confiscated by Justin Trudeau. So I was pretty upset, and I wrote a letter to our member of parliament. I basically said it was disgusting, and this was the third time they had specifically targeted physicians, because other businesses get tax exemptions that we don't get. And Trudeau, I truly feel that he hates doctors. Like, he thinks nobody should be able to become successful in Canada, and he maybe considers it a threat. I'm not sure, but he is a son of a bitch when it comes to medicine. So that looks like snow. It's just white rock. So at any rate, I confided all this in my friends who at this Bible study, and our whole friendship fell apart. And I didn't even say, like, I'm not Trudeau's a liberal, I'm not anti-liberal, and I'm not pro-conservative. I truly don't care. Yeah, everybody's entitled to their opinion. but I don't like him or his policies. And I said, like, this really hurts my family and I, like, seriously hurts them, and I'm really angry. And all I got back was judgment about how it's wrong to be angry and all that stuff. And look, they're probably right. Like, you know, like, if being bitter is like carrying poison around your mouth, in your mouth, hoping you can spit it at somebody, at your enemy. They're probably right, but at that time I felt so goddamn judged, belittled, and like my opinions didn't matter at all. And like, I don't know, I haven't had the stomach to go back to my Bible study. That was about 3 months ago, and it's really a shame, because I miss, and one of my friends in that group did not belittle me. He was like, I understand where you're coming from, I understand how upsetting this is for you. And I wasn't even, I was just saying, like, I'm furious, like, I'm really angry about this. Oh, that's inappropriate. You know, like, I don't know, I just felt oh, the word's not gaslighting, but it's like negated, I guess, like my problems don't matter or whatever. And yeah, maybe they don't. In the grand scheme of things, we're just the, you know, a meaningless species on a blue marble in space, I guess. But I don't know. I don't feel like I feel like individualism is still important, and yeah, I just feel like people are so happy to judge, and they're so happy to knock you down a peg. I don't know, maybe I'm becoming proud and that's a bad thing. I don't know what the answer is. Oh good, I did go the right way. When you showed up in Charlo, I'd be a little bit concerned. Oh jeez. The last story I want to tell you is just about my my first boat that I had, because it's kind of a funny story, and I was thinking about it the other day. I'm thinking of getting this boat back on the water. So in 2020, I had wanted fishing camp for a long time, and all of a sudden, I wish it was permanent in a way. I had all this time on my hands for this very brief period when the pandemic started, because we had to, they didn't want us getting COVID and taking out our whole group. So they split us into teams of 2, and also nobody was coming for elective procedures or anything. We weren't allowed to see patients for about 2 months. And so I wrote a novel in that time, and I actually, it was like, I don't know, I needed a break, I guess, and it was probably a good time to take a break. But I also found, like, all these people were selling their fishing camps at like bargain basement prices. Presumably they had rented them out like to Americans on Airbnb, and all of a sudden there were no renters. I'm gonna sneeze, I apologize if this wakes you up. Usually coming too, yeah. So with no renters, people were selling their fishing camps, and there were like hundreds of them listed all along the Miramichi. And I love salmon fishing. I've talked about it before, but it's like, I don't know, it's my communion with nature. Does that make me sound like a witch? I don't know, that's not what I mean, but I do love those fishing camps. And this one came up and I bought it, but then I realized, like, a lot of the fishing you do, like especially spring fishing, is out of a boat. And I'd spent all my money on the fishing camp and I didn't have any money for a boat. Most people have like a John boat kind of thing, and it's you know, it's nothing fancy, but at the same time, like, if you remember, okay, so this was like spring of 2021 by the time I actually got the place. If you remember, the prices of things went up by about 100% during that spring. There's always a stop sign on this road I forget about and then have to slam on the brakes, so not today. So I shopped around and I found on Amazon a Pelican 12-foot John boat that could take up to a 6 horsepower motor. And I was like, hey, perfect. not having any experience with John boats, and I got my boat license, and did my boater's safety course, as you have to do in Canada, and I got some life jackets. And this John boat arrived in an Amazon truck, and when it came out, it was about the height of a kayak. It was about the height of this windshield, from the gunnels to the bottom of the boat. And I realized, like, oh, this might be kind of tippy. And it's also the way I sat on it. I had to have my knees, like, because the seats are, you know, from here to here off the off the bottom of the boat. So I got a little 6 horsepower Yamaha motor. The first time I took it out, the Yamaha had a little internal gas tank and an external gas tank, and I could never remember how to switch between the two. So what I would do, I would just fill up the internal gas tank, and then I would take it out. And with me in the boat, the internal gas tank lasted all day, and I never really thought much about it other than that. There's the stop sign. It's so easy to go past this. So my mom came up. This is the first week I had the boat, and we went for a little boat ride, and went fishing, and she caught nice trout. And then I ran out of gas about 5 miles from home, because of course when the boat's pushing 2 people, like that little motor pushing me was okay, but pushing both of us against the current, it used a lot of gas. So we had to get rescued, which we did. We got rescued, and it was embarrassing, but everybody was safe. I'm gonna go the straight way. This is where I got married, Chrissy and I. I love that church. So then I would go out fishing a lot in the boat, and I fish in every kind of weather. I'm just like nuts for it. Now I've tried to ease off because I get a sore back these days from fishing too much. It's a lot of, if you've ever watched like fly casting, it's a lot of repetitive motion kind of thing. But now up here was where I did my first family medicine rotation with a guy who is the brother of a guy I work with now, and he passed away, he had cystic fibrosis, but he lived a long time. He was a really lovely guy. Anyway, what the heck was I talking about? This was like my favorite month of my entire medical school, was doing family medicine up here. I probably should have done family medicine. I really enjoyed it. I was I like people. I'm naturally, like, I think empathetic. Maybe he lived there. I think it was there. I'm not necessarily a good person, but I do want people to feel better, and I do care. So that would have been probably a good specialty, because a lot of times they just need somebody to care. I'm not trying to belittle the specialty. I'm sure there's lots more to it than that, but that was what I was good at in it. Anyway, so I went out fishing in the rain one day, and it was in the spring. It was like probably mid-May. The run had kind of slowed down, the spring salmon run, but it was a cold spring, and there was still ice in the water. And as I was fishing, like what you do is you have an anchor off a pulley on your bow, and you just kind of drop that and then fish off your stern. As I was fishing, this big ice floe came down and snagged my anchor rope, and the whole bow of the boat went. I thought for sure I was going in. And I had a knife with me, and I went to cut the anchor off, but by the time I actually got to sawing at the rope and the boat was standing almost upright, the ice kind of worked its way around us and we splashed back down into the water. But it was like, the power of that moving water is shocking. Like, it's unbelievable, and you don't feel it until something like that happens. A guy actually drowned, or no, his mother drowned. He took her out and they hit a log, and got snagged. They rolled the boat, and then the boat got snagged on the log, and she got snagged under the boat, and basically couldn't get back up because she had to fight the current. It was too strong. Yeah, so that's you know, just an example of, like, this was not the safest boat. So there was a place called the 66, which is 66 feet of public water. That was up the river from where our first camp was. I love that place. I love that camp. I feel I really miss it a lot of the time. So my son loves fishing. He's a better fisherman than I am. He's a beautiful fly caster. He's just learning spey casting this year. But he and I stupidly put on our waders and then went to go up to the 66 in the boat. And our plan was just to bring the boat into the beach and walk up and then fish our way down and then get in the boat and go home. So we did do that. And on our way home, like, the river was shallow by our place, so what you had to do was come down on one side and then turn around and come back up the other side. And somehow, when we were turning around, I hit this log that was in the water, just loosely floating. And it grabbed it got stuck between the prop and the stern of the boat in a way that it pulled the lever out of my hand, like the tiller got pulled all the way over this way. And the boat started rolling, like, at full speed and tilted way over. And I fell out. I fell into the river, but I still had my legs in the boat, like my torso was in the river. And I did the sit-up to try and get myself out, and I pinged my finger off the prop, and I looked up, and Jack, my son, was leaning. He was almost standing on the bow. The bow was at about this angle, and he was standing off this side, just like, he must have just naturally figured that, like, I have to put my weight over here. Anyway, we did save it, but I was scared to look at my finger. I wouldn't look at it until we got home and we were out of the boat, because I was like, I'm gonna pass out when I see how much is missing. I thought for sure it was gone, but when I looked at it, it had just cracked my nail right down the middle. But my finger was okay. Anyway, yeah, those were good days. I miss our little boat. So I've still got that little boat in a shed up at the new camp, and there's some good trout fishing across the river from us, and I think I might bring the motor up and, God help me, give it a try. But in this case, if we're just going from one side of the river to the other and back, like, the river is not a whole lot wider. It'd be like double this highway, maybe. Maybe a little more than that, but you know, it shouldn't be that dangerous, I hope. Let's bring it home in sport mode. You have to hit the clutch. I'm not good at this rev matching. I think the slipper clutch does it for you, and I'm so used to old bikes. This is my first bike with ABS, for example, that I keep over revving the damn thing when I'm changing gears. Not that sport mode's gonna do us much good here. I'm kind of behind this dude. I'll tell you one more funny Miramichi story since we got a little ways to go. I didn't know where to go fishing, and I didn't before I got the boat. I wanted to spring fish, and I would, like, pay guides to go fishing. This before Americans could come, so the prices were really good for 2021. And so I went with this place in Red Banks. I can't remember what I think it was called Oxbow Fishing Club or whatever. And at the time, it was affordable. And I caught like 3 girls, I think, that day. And it was hot. Like, I fished in a t-shirt. This was April 21st. So the next day, April 22nd, I was going out with this guy named Bonner. And Bonner's a Pentecostal missionary. I'm not Pentecostal. This was unrelated to the story, but he was one of the guys from his church worked at my camp when it was a timeshare camp, and so he had recommended Bonner. Anyway, Bonner was a really nice guy, really serious, like outdoorsman, in better shape than me. He's like 75. And I showed up and I had like a rain jacket on and a plaid shirt under that and my jeans. And he said, "Is that all you have to wear to fish?" And I said, "Yeah, I mean, yesterday I got a tan." He said, "I don't think you're getting a tan today." So we went out and it started snowing, and it dropped down to minus 14 degrees Celsius. I caught 2 monstrously big salmon, like I wouldn't say like personal best, but close, especially for a spring fish. One of them pulled our boat off its anchor and drew us out into the channel. Like it was like classic great fishing. But so we started at 8. At 11:30 I couldn't feel my hands, and at noon I was shaking uncontrollably. I had ice all over my crotch, like, because it was like snow raining at first and I got wet, and then my pants froze, like you know when Harry and Lloyd get off the motorcycle in Dumb and Dumber and they're stuck together with piss. That's what I felt like. And I said, "Bonner, is there any way we can call it a day, man?" "Are you serious?" I said, "Yeah, I'll pay you for the whole day, man. I'm too cold." So he took me into his house and I was soaked to the bone, and his wife had made this beautiful corn chowder for lunch, but I was so cold I couldn't eat. Like I just felt terrible. And so I didn't want to sit. All this furniture was handmade and it was all white. Like they had upholstered everything in white, and I was scared to sit on it and stuff. And all I wanted was to go home and warm up, like just sit by the heater and warm up at my camp. But I was trying to be polite, and he was a really nice guy. And then he took me upstairs and he played like lap steel guitar for me, and he was like the nicest dude. And it was just like, oh man, I think I gotta go home, man. I didn't want to go to the bathroom in their house. I did go to the washroom before they served the soup. I was like, I'll just go freshen up, and I went to the washroom and took my jeans off and tried to wring them out in the toilet, and they were new jeans, and I stained my entire like crotch and upper thighs blue from the indigo in the jeans. Oh man, they were fun times. Well, I can't even remember all the things we talked about today. I hope these videos don't drive you insane. Feel free to unsubscribe if it's not to your taste. I won't take offense. If you like this style of video, if you're happy just hanging out and going for a ride, like scenic ride, and listen to me yammer on, then maybe like and subscribe, and we'll see if we can get 150 subs. I don't know. I think I'm at 139. I don't know what the goal is for the channel. Like, how many people are really interested in this kind of thing? I think we can find over 1,000. I don't know. It's never going to make money, let's put it that way, but it is fun content to make, and it's fun to recount these stories, and it's something that my son can watch when I'm long gone, and he can remember all the crap his dad got up to. Anyway, look, God bless, ride safe. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.